Reynolds, before you open with prayer, I would just like to welcome everyone and thank you
Mm-hmm.
for joining us this evening. My name is Dr. Stephanie Myers, and I'm National Co-Chair of Black Women for Positive Change. And we're an organization that believes that we have to be ahead of the trends, not behind them. And so, fortunately, our chaplain, Reverend Dr. Barbara Reynolds, and Tina Jones have been forming a committee to really give us vision about artificial intelligence. So we're just very pleased this evening to have this presentation, and we have to get our community energized to accept that change is not just coming, change is here. And we don't really have an option but to learn about it and how to use that. So with that, Reverend Dr. Barbara Reynolds, who also, by the way, authored a book called The Rise and Fall of the Techno Messiah. I have the link for it in the chat room. And we want all of you to please put your names and information in the chat as well. So with that, Reverend Reynolds, please open up the meeting.
Dear Father God, we just thank you, Lord. Lord, this is the day that you have made, and we come rejoicing. Lord God, we just thank you, God. We ask you, God, to pour out your blessing on this meeting. Lord God, show us and guide us what we must do, Lord, to get ahead of something like AI, Lord God, so that we can be a blessing to people, God, who will need us on jobs, hospitals, Lord God. And so we thank you and we give you honor and great praise. Amen. Now, Marcia, can you introduce our esteemed speaker?
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. It is my pleasure and to introduce my colleague, Joelle Jean. She is our technological person, one of our technological persons for the New York Black Nurses, along with Jasmine Waterman, who came on and she's taken over from Jasmine, as a matter of fact. And we're delighted to have her here. She has been our speaker for our National Black Nurses Day in the city of New York. And she has been a speaker for an international program uh, sponsored through the country of Kuwait, where she spoke about AI to many persons at that particular time, hundreds, as a matter of fact. And she is knowledgeable about AI to the degree that anyone could expect under these circumstances these days. She is she's a nurse, and she has um, assisted me with programs that I've had through the New York Black Nurses. And we're looking forward very much to hearing from her as she brings us information regarding how to look at AI, what to think of, what we do know so far. And we've been hearing that many of us don't have a lot of information regarding that. She's a family nurse practitioner. She teaches, and she is well prepared to give us what's current in relation to AI. So please help me welcome her, Joelle Jean, family nurse practitioner, and my colleague. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So, good evening, everyone. I just wanted to thank you for inviting me to speak about artificial intelligence. And this presentation is The Power of AI, Opportunities, Challenges, Ethical Considerations, and Prompting. So, yeah, so we have the opportunity to be the change um, that we want to see in the world. So I just want to start off with first a story. Imagine you are a co-author of a research paper dedicated to identifying and eliminating bias in artificial intelligence. Later that year, Google hires you. You are now the code lead to help build their ethical AI team. You think this is amazing, this is great. A major tech company is committing to ethical AI and striving to reform bias systems. However, when you present your research paper at an academic conference, which highlight the concerns that data engineers may embed their own biases into AI systems, a Google manager demands you retract the paper or remove your name and the names of the other Google employees. You refuse to do that. You want Google to explain why and answer other concerns. You're not surprised that upper management is angry. You've felt this before, and you think they've wanted you out for a while because you are a Black woman who speaks up about issues related to marginalized communities. You end up getting fired. Google says your research didn't show ways to reduce bias, but you're more upset they refuse to have a discussion about why they shut down the research. And this is Timnit Gerbu. She was the researcher who was fired from Google. Gerbu's story is just one example of what is happening in AI. And when pioneers like Gerbu are being silenced to show how AI has flaws and biases that especially target people of color, women, and individuals with disabilities, we all lose. More and more cases are bringing to light racial bias in artificial intelligent algorithms used to manage industries. And we, as Black and Brown individuals, have the opportunity to be in the forefront of AI development and integration in the various industries. The movement of AI has been compared to the discovery of electricity, fire, and airplanes. It is a multi-billion-dollar industry that is transforming the world, and it's predicted to be used in every single aspect of our lives. So what exactly is AI? I'm just going to go into what it's not. So AI, number one, is not human intelligence. It cannot understand, it cannot reason, it cannot feel the way that humans do. It lacks consciousness, self-awareness, and emotions. It's not always right. Models are only as good as the data they're trained on. So if the data is biased or flawed or incomplete, AI will make mistakes. And lastly, AI is not perfect or finished. It is constantly evolving and has limitations. So what is AI? AI is machine-based intelligence. It enables computers to learn, to reason, and make decisions like humans. It processes large amounts of data to identify patterns and trends. So I have the first question. What are some key AI technologies used today? A, machine learning, B, deep learning, C, agentic AI, or D, all of the above? Feel free to just unmute and answer.
I would think all, but except I'm not sure that agentic AI is generative AI. If it's generative AI, then it's all of the above.
Yes, so it is. It's all of the above. I will define all of them. So here are some key AI technologies. We have machine learning, which is non-generative, natural language processing, deep learning, computer vision, robotics, agentic AI, which leads us to generative AI and large language models.
Can you say what generative means?
Sure. Generative AI. I'll go through all of them.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay.
So machine learning, first, we'll start with that. It's machine learning is non-generative, right? So it does not create new content from scratch, but it learns from data sets by recognizing patterns. For example, Amazon and Netflix. So if you use Amazon, right, it suggests whatever you buy, it starts to suggest things that you like. Netflix as well. If you watch certain shows, it will start suggesting shows that are in similar to what you've been watching. Natural language processing is AI that understands and processes human language. Deep learning is AI using neural networks to process complex data. So, for example, image recognition, you can put, um, it starts to recognize what a dog looks like, what a cat looks like, right? Computer vision is AI that analyzes and interprets visual data, for example, facial recognition. Robotic AI, it's AI that enables robots to perform intelligent actions. For example, you have the self-driving cars, and you have agentic AI, which is systems designed to make independent decisions and pursues goals without requiring constant human intervention. For example, there are some financial apps that are out there. So you make an investment, and this AI tool will adjust your investments based on what's happening in the market. So that's a form of agentic AI. Generative AI is a combination of two or more of these AI tools that creates new content from scratch. So based on patterns, like, for example, ChatGPT is a generative AI tool. In healthcare, you have clinical decision support systems. So, for example, you will put in symptoms of a patient, and it will come up with a plan, a diagnosis, treatment. And again, in healthcare, we have nursing simulations, which basically simulate real life scenarios. But at the end, all these tools learn by using a huge data set, which is called large language models. And that they identify patterns in text to generate a response. So so you start off with the large language models, and then you have all these AI tools, which I went over. And these large language models are really they are generated from these chips. I don't know if you are all are aware, but there's a company called NVIDIA that has these chips that these AI companies use in order to create these AI models. And these chips are very expensive and not relatively available. So I will go into that a little bit towards the middle of the presentation. So AI has capabilities. It has capability to learn, reason, perceive, and predict. AI's usage, people, companies and industries use AI for facial recognition, hiring, language, voice speech recognition, automation, and clinical decision making. Although this is not a healthcare presentation, we all interact with the healthcare system in some way. And this is why I wanted to bring up this doctor. I'm not sure if anyone's familiar with his work, but Joelle Bavell is a doctor, and he's been actively working on bringing attention to race-based medicine and debunking old medical practices. So he's used social media as his platform, where he has exposed racial biases. For example, what you see here, he's exposed racial bias that are found in medical journals, medical books about Black and Hispanic girls start puberty earlier, misdiagnosis of birthmarks, Black women have more C-sections, the EGFR, which is the kidney function test. I'm not sure if everyone heard that story, but Black patients have, it was told in medical books that Black patients have better kidneys. So therefore, their kidney function tests were raised higher. So many patients did not qualify for kidney transplants when they were sicker than their white counterparts. And it's important to realize that the accuracy of these results are dependent on the accuracy of the data put into these large language models. For example, whoever is putting this data in is going to affect what the outcome is. So when the input data is inaccurate, this creates bias in AI. So can biased data lead to discriminatory outcomes in AI decision making? Yes or no? Feel free
Yes.
to just answer. Yes. Yes. So it can. So bias in AI reinforces pre-existing human biases and stereotypes within systems. And the risk for assuming variables such as sex, gender, race, and ethnicity are overlooked in AI. So, what is also concerning in this AI movement is that large companies like Amazon and OpenAI, ChatGPT, they aspire to lead the AI race, and America is in a race with China. Whoever is going to be the leading um, industry or the leading force in AI, which is gonna, transform every industry. So tech industries within America are trying to monopolize AI investment. And a recent statement from one of the ChatGPT CEOs, Sam Altman, he claimed that there's no hope to compete with his company, which is ChatGPT. He's discouraging innovation and competition. Um, However, I'm not sure if you all are aware, but a few months ago, a Chinese startup called DeepSeek was said to create one of the world's most powerful AI systems using way fewer computer chips, which is the chips that I was telling you all about earlier, than experts expected, and thus debunking what Sam Altman was saying, that basically, he can't compete, but this company came out saying that, yes, we can compete. And if there's anything that you could take away from this presentation, is that although these major companies think that we don't have the resources or that we cannot create innovation, we can. We have access to the technology, and we can improve industries and our community. And the way, it creates opportunity for us. And I'm not saying we have to go learn code or you have to become software engineers, but we shouldn't be afraid of the technology. We should become very active. And as Dr. Meyer said in the beginning, this is what your organization is pushing to do, being leaders and not being left behind. So this presentation and us meeting together today is definitely what needs to be done in order to be a part of this movement. So does anyone have any questions? Because I'm going to go into prompting in the next couple of slides. So if you have any questions about the
I have
presentation.
a question. What? Let me. This is Gloria. Biden was trying to get the Chips and Sciences Act together to have the chips manufactured here in America. Was that part of us becoming more competitive?
Yes, it was part of us getting to be more competitive. I just listened to a podcast about the chips. Everybody was worried that, because China had created this fast paced, AI chat GPT system, that we weren't going to be competitive, that we wouldn't need the chips, but the chips are still needed to create these large language models. So we shouldn't be afraid that there's a shortage of chips, but America is leading so far with the chips. However, AI systems need a lot of energy to run, and the United States, which is one of the issues, doesn't have a lot of infrastructure in order to have these large language models run. So there's other countries that do have access to this energy, and that can pose a little bit of a issue, if that makes sense.
I understand.
Yeah. But yes, it seems like in terms of competition, who's going to come up with this AI boom, that's what they're trying to do, trying to be the leader in that. That it doesn't necessarily mean that they're doing the right thing, cutting all these fundings to replace jobs. We all know that that's not going to work. So, any other questions? No? Okay, I'm going to move on with the prompting. So, prompting is there are AI tools out there that we can use to help us be more productive, help us get answers that we wouldn't necessarily get from Google. So prompting is the process of providing specific instructions to a generative AI tool to receive new information or to achieve a desired outcome on a task. And prompting is basically a new language to talk with computers. And there's 5 steps to prompting. A good prompt follows a simple framework, which is the 5 steps you see here: task, content, references, evaluate, and iterate. And a good prompt leads to the output or information you're trying to get out of the AI tool. So I started off with an example. The first step is a task, right? So you have the task is the foundation of any prompt. It has to have 3 components: a persona, the task that you want it to do, and which format you want it to come out of. Has anybody used ChatGPT?
Yes, I use it as an editor and I find it very helpful.
Yes. Me too. I find it very helpful too. It basically what you would take you a few hours to do, it gives it to you in like less than a minute. So
Yeah,
pretty remarkable. But anyway, so
I have a question.
yes.
I did use BART. I think it went to Gemini. And then could you name some of them? Because you can use it to write your essays, you can use it to write poems, but I heard someone mention and I wasn't sure what that was. Is that something that you've come across as Pi, or which prompts? There's now it's Copilot. Microsoft
Yes.
Copilot has one, and it's just strange because when I'm writing, all of a sudden I'll see this little icon saying, "Well, can I help you?"
Yes. 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 There's a few. I do end up going over them
Okay.
in the presentation.
Okay.
Um, um, but yes. So I'll go over them.
Okay.
But yes, so those are the 3 steps to the prompt for the first step, and it has 3 components. So this is an example of just the task prompt. So I used a real estate investor for the persona. So you want to start off with the persona. They say it doesn't matter what you start off with, but just to be able to remember which steps go first, you want to start with the persona. So you start with, you are a highly seasoned real estate investor. You want to tell what the task is. So predict market trends to optimize your investment decisions. And you want the generative AI, you want to give them which format you want it in. So, and you want to provide it in a bullet format. So you can write your prompt like this, but you'll probably get very generic answers. So it's good to go into step 2, which is adding content to the prompt. So you want to provide lots of background information like your goals and the reason for the task. So here I added the content. So you're a highly seasoned real estate investor. You primarily invest in the tri-state area, avoiding these zip codes and these towns. And you want to know where is the best zip code or area you want to invest in next. The area you want to invest in next outside of the tri-state area, concentrating more in Boston, Massachusetts, and these particular zip codes. You want it to predict the market trends to optimize your investment decisions, and you want it provided into a bullet format. That is a prompt you can use as well. You can put it into Chat GPT, for example, or Gemini, and it will give you certain information. It could be great, but they also say you can even add even more information to get a very clear outcome that you're looking for. And that comes with step number 3. You want to add a reference. So references, examples are, or any additional resources that resemble what you want the generative AI tool to produce. For example, you can include more text or images, and you can even put audio references to get your input more specific. So here would be the main prompt. So you're a highly seasoned real estate investor. You primarily invest in the tri-state area, avoiding these zip codes and these towns, but you do invest in these zip codes and these towns. You want to know where the best zip code area you want to invest in outside of the tri-state area, concentrating more in Boston in these zip codes and these towns. Then you would add your Excel sheet. So here's an Excel sheet with the detailed criteria you use to analyze properties, states, and zip codes. And you want the AI tool to predict market trends for the next 2 to 3 years to optimize your investment decisions and provide it in bullet format. And again, there's no science to prompting. The more information you give it in a structured manner in this way should be able to give you the information that you're looking for.
What question?
Yeah.
I noticed that if I say like this, I cannot stand on me. Okay, a certain president, and I'll name the president.
Yes.
And he's sickening, and I hope he leaves on the spaceship with Musk.
Yeah.
And then they'll give me this very polite things. We do not, comment on politics or stuff like that. But if you change it, you can change it to not name a person. Like I just asked it yesterday when I was trying to write an article about, can you compare the racial sensitivity, racial insensitivity of us with the racial insensitivity of Trump? And I was surprised it did answer. It gave me things I hadn't even thought about.
It did answer. It gave you what you wanted.
Yeah, I was surprised. I really
Mm.
was surprised because then it even gave me statistics on Musk background in the court suits that is being found against him for racism
Mm.
that I had never even read about. So sometimes you can look up and it'll give you even more. I never would have thought that Tulsa had all these suits against them for racial discrimination. If
Yes.
the prompt, I think this one was co-pilot, told me.
Wow.
But then when I said, like you said, some of them can lie. That wasn't right words, but you can't trust them. So I researched the information and went to the sources, and it was true.
Mm.
Amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, I read something that they said um they were using prompts to talk about our current president, and everything was negative. Anything that they looked up, everything, his name, forget it. It's attached to very negative comments.
I was shocked.
No,
Yeah.
probably the fact that his grandfather was a Nazi.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's quite well known, which is why I still wonder what kind of insanity we're under to allow him to do anything.
Agreed. Agreed.
Yes.
It's yeah. Um
this,
yeah, so
yeah,
that is very interesting though.
this,
That's good to hear, Dr. Reynolds. But anyway, prompting images, you can also prompt an image. This is the information you want to add. You would add the size, the color, the position, the aesthetic. Um, you would do the same type of prompt. You want to add your tasks, the format, and the content, and the vivid descriptions of what you want the image to look like.
Mm.
There are other ways that you can type in information, upload an image, and then you can write an example. For example, write a social media post featuring this particular image. The post should be fun, short, and focused on the latest designs of this, whatever you're selling. For example, if you own a company selling earrings, you would put up the picture of the image, and then you would want the chat GPT or the generative AI tool to write up the social media post for you. Here are some AI tools, Dr. Reynolds, that you were asking about. Gemini for Google Workplace, Google AI Studios, ChatGPT, Copilot, and Claude. Those are the main ones that I've heard about.
Well, what about Claude? I've never heard about that one.
Yes, no, I don't know a lot about Claude either. I would have to do my research on that.
Okay.
AI image generators, we have ChatGPT, Sora. Sora is part of ChatGPT. It actually creates videos. Dell E3, Midjourney, Stable Diffusion, and Leonardo AI. these AI tools create images. I was curious to know, if you do create an image, do you own the image? Because that's important. For example, if you're starting your own business or you're using an image that you generated, do you own it? And that's something that you would have to do some research on to make sure that you own 100% of the rights to your image, or that these generative AI tools own it. So you would have to do some research on that.
I have a question on that, Joelle. This is Dr.
Yeah.
Myers. How do you
Right.
register it? How do you establish that ownership?
So what I would do is you would have to read what their rules are for these tools. So a great way to figure out what rules, you know, what restrictions they have or whatever liabilities or licensing, you could do a quick ChatGPT search on the companies and find out if you own 100% of your image.
So, but I
I
have a
think a lot
question.
of them you do own it 100%.
I have a question. If you have your own, like I have my own logos and things that I had generated. My sister is a computer graphics design person. And if I wanted to use those and just have Chat GPT or whoever insert them, would I still have to go and have them recopy written?
I'm not sure. I would have to do some research on that. I think if you said your sister generated the images through one of the AI tools, or she created them herself?
Now she created them herself. She's an artist.
Oh, I think she owns them. But I mean, one of those things, this is not an AI problem. It's more of a like copyright problem in general.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of artists on Instagram and things like that, they had created images and people would use them without their permission. So a
Exactly.
lot of people have done watermarks on their images.
Mm.
I don't know if you all remember when NFTs were really big for a while. Like people
Exactly.
were putting NFTs on their images so that you knew who was the original owner of the image.
Mm.
But yeah, I think your sister would have to do a little bit more research or put like watermarks on her images.
Okay.
And from Esther,
Yeah.
you have a question.
My comment is on your previous slide where you had indicated Gemini as one of those AI tools.
How do we make our
As a matter of fact, it came up with my phone this morning, and I wanted to determine whether I really wanted to use it. And when I looked at the information provided, it says it can change whatever you have put there.
Oh,
And they
geez.
will share your information.
Whoa.
It's not necessarily that what you write is what's really going to be come out at the end of it. So I just
What
said,
about the chicken?
no, I don't want it. When these things crop up, you've got to really read the information and go into the details of what it's all about. I certainly wasn't going to have anything that I documented to be changed and then it would be attributed to me. So
Jesus.
that was just an observation. I just came across that this morning.
Wow.
Yeah, I agree. I heard on LinkedIn too, if you write posts on LinkedIn, there's somewhere in LinkedIn you have to turn off on your settings that says you cannot use what I wrote in your AI experiment or whatever. So yeah, it's not regulated. So it's definitely important to be careful. So I do write that as a key takeaway, to remember, obviously, not to put in personal information. So when I was doing my research on this presentation, for the prompting. For example, it says put in as much information as you can. If I'm putting my name, my husband's name, my kid's name, where we're going, what flight, where, what hotel we're going to stay in, it's capturing all that information. You know what I mean? So there's I'm sure I'm not 100% sure about the security of it, but you never want to put in all that information. You want it to be very generalized and not about you per se. I'm not going to write, African-American woman from Queens, nerd, you don't want to do all that. That's why I think creating the persona is very important, because it's not you. So you always want to evaluate your prompts to make sure that you're getting the output that you really want. Always iterate the prompts. If you're not getting the output, you can always adjust your prompts to give more information or be more specific. You can always create a prompt library to save the prompts that you've created. And AI is not regulated, not yet, anyway.
So you're saying, because some strange things seem to happen. I wrote I was writing on Facebook about something about Musk and Trump, and it was before I could get it finished, it was taken down, and I went back on there and told people that the Facebook police was after me, and
wow.
the thing I knew it was back up, and another friend of mine who said that sometimes even when you have your phone off, that whoever or whatever can still be reading it. Is that true?
I've never heard that. I've heard that you should turn your phone off often. I never heard that it's actually still listening to you.
Why should you turn it off often?
They say you should turn it off often because I think it resets when you turn it off. So if you turn it off, whatever is listening to you or whatever updates are happening, it's supposed to protect your information. Did anyone ever hear that? I definitely heard that you should.
I've had to do the one thing that I've had to do with my iPhone is it has to get permission from me before it upgrades.
Yes.
Because sometimes it'll just, as soon as I turn it off or whatever, I'm looking up and I got a whole new set of information and I haven't mastered the previous information. So now I got that plus, and I'm not a robot. I don't necessarily need to have every little bit of scientific whatever that iPhone has come up with in the last whatever it is on my phone. So I basically say, don't do it without asking first. Yes. So that stopped it updating, as soon as I turned it off.
The phone does listen to you when you're speaking or searching for stuff. If you start talking about shoes, then you start getting information into your phone and ads about shoes. So there are settings that you can remove because some of the places and sites you visit share information with each other, share information with other companies. So Facebook may share information about you to other places or Meta, or what they call it. So the AI does pick that up. And every time you upgrade your phones, like iPhones, there are new clauses put into the phone that you may not read that might be talking about privacy, clauses, or like your information will be shared. And it doesn't allow you to go further without accepting it. Like you can't access certain files that are in the cloud until you accept the new update. So there are some, issues with the phones.
Lord. Phone with a mind of its own. Isn't that something?
Yep.
That's all we need. Here we come, Captain Kirk.
Turn your phones off.
Joelle, continue on with the slides.
Oh, sure. Well, I'm pretty much done. So as we all know, Shirley Chisholm said, if there's no room at the table, create your own. Um, we are all here together tonight to really discuss what's happening with AI. And we have we have the resources, we have the capability to be part of the conversation, to be at the table, to lead these discussions on AI, because believe it or not, even though it's here and it's coming full force, nobody really knows what's gonna come out of it. So I just want to leave everyone feeling empowered and knowing that as you get more things done as a group as opposed to an individual. So the woman I spoke about earlier, she left Google, obviously, and she started an organization called Black in AI. So if anyone's interested in looking at her website or joining, that is the link right there. And the podcast episode I was talking about was the Ezra Klein show. He interviewed Biden's, what was his name? Hold on. Ezra. He interviewed Biden's AI person, basically, and they go into detail. He was the top advisor on AI in the Biden administration, Ben Buchanan, Buchanan. And they talked about everything about AI, up to date, what's happening, what they're concerned about, what they're excited about. So it was a very good listen.
We have people on the call now, and it would be great if you would tell that story again about the woman who had all those troubles, because some of the people came on after you had told that story.
Okay.
On with us now. I'd appreciate it if you just tell that story again about what happened to her.
Sure. So the woman that I was talking about, her name is Timnit Gerbu. Yeah. She was a co-author of a research paper that was dedicated. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. She was the co-author of a research paper dedicated to identifying and eliminating bias in artificial intelligence. And she was hired specifically from Google to help build their ethical AI team. So they knew what she was doing. So she was super excited. She's like, great, finally a company that is really committed to ethical AI and striving to reform bias in AI. And when she presented the research paper on what she found, the concerns of the data engineers may be putting in their own biases into AI systems, one of the Google managers demanded that she retract the paper or remove her name and the other names of the Google employees to her paper. She refused. She ended up getting fired. So, long story short, that is just, Google is one of the most powerfulest companies, correct? So for them to fire her was a big deal, because they said that on the surface that they wanted to reduce bias in AI, but it turned out once it became public that their company wasn't doing the most ethical things or really protecting us as a community. They ended up firing one of the lead co-leads of that ethical AI team. And she's the one who started this organization, Black in AI.
Yeah, I have two questions. One is about the workforce, because as you might have been told, we are planning to do a summer camp for kids, initially an academy, because when you see what is happening now with the mass removal of people of color, of what not just people of color, but I'm talking about here. How do you think, what should be done? Because I stay up at night sometimes thinking about what's going to happen when it really hits us, that there will be people who will not be viable because they won't be skilled or they won't be enhanced. And that usually when those things happen, the drugs get in their community, guns, and more violence. So, what do you think that we can do to create a more equitable workforce, or do you think this is a major issue?
No, I think it's,
I would post the slides so we can see everybody since we're getting into
oh,
discussion.
sure. Oh, I just wanted to share, if just a survey at the end, if everyone could just, download the QR code. I'll just give you 30 seconds. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to talk about AI. These are all where you can find me. And if you can fill out the survey, I will greatly appreciate it. Let me close that. Okay. I'm glad to see everybody now. I couldn't see everybody in the presentation. That's a great question, Dr. Reynolds. I think that it's very important for us to strategize on what are the best ways to include younger generation, on what to do with what's happening now. So that's something I don't know the answer to it. I think the great thing is the academy, which would be amazing, or a camp where we are talking about the different AI models. Even there's a lot of hackathons. I don't know if everyone's aware of them, but a lot of hackathons happen where we get different people in the industry trying to solve a problem. And they have a limited time of when to solve it. So I believe hackathons are really great. You can offer scholarships at the end. You can get sponsorship. And we create, as a group, we create a product. That's how I see.
What is a hackathon?
So basically, it's you invite anybody, students, people in the industry, to solve a problem. So for example, you say, I'm going to always talk about healthcare. How do we lower, diabetes in our community? So everyone has their different little groups. They come up with ideas to create ideas to solve this problem. Then they present it to a group of people. You vote on it. Whoever wins gets funded for a little bit of money, and then we work on this project. That's what a hackathon is. They have it in healthcare. They have it in tech groups. They have hackathons everywhere.
The other question I wanted to ask, because I don't feel that we are protected, because the technology can create deep fakes where you can put a person's face on a pornographic body and then blackmail the person, like, if you don't give us so much money, then we'll put this on your boss's desk. Now, Taylor Swift, I mean, she could deal with that subject because she had 45 million people, to back her up. But just a average person, if you are in that kind of predicament, I don't know, what do they do?
I'm not sure what they do. I'm not sure what they would do about that. I know Simone Biles, that happens to her all the time, saying that she's pregnant and her face is on these pregnant women, and she's definitely not pregnant. And they look real. You're right. They look so real. But I really don't know the answer to that, because um there's no rules, you know what I mean? There's no governance. So I'm not sure.
And that's what I think we need to create an organization to deal with the issues affecting people of color, like in Detroit. There's suits that Black women have waged against facial identification systems, identifying them as criminals.
Goodness. Yeah.
And, that's happening. We don't know where else it's happening, but we know it's happening. And when you talk about how you can go into a hospital, and I think Tina Jones, who is our coordinator, had talked about it, and they have the equipment, the medical equipment, but it doesn't register correctly on you, you know, and there's nothing you can do about it because it's hard to find it out. Research shows that there's certain tools, for example, the heart murmur. You go in and because it doesn't register our skin completely. These are kind of things, we need an organization that will focus on the issues concerning Black women, because who else is going to do it?
Yep.
Joelle, one of our guests is asking to put your contact information in the chat again.
This a business account.
Yes.
I don't know if you can put that in there, but certainly maybe your email or whatever. And we ask everyone on here to please let us know where you are so we can contact you, because this was a really great session. One other thing, Dr. Reynolds mentioned this academy that we would like to do in the summer. If any of you have any ideas about where we could submit an application to receive some funding, we'd like to submit a proposal,
That one, you said the other one.
because the young people need support in order to participate. We need subsidies for them, some type of, scholarship to kind of get there. If anyone has any ideas, we'd appreciate that.
Just one comment. A number of people were calling. This is Marcia. A number of people called the presentation. They had some difficulty
Okay, someone needs to mute.
link in to the program. So indeed, it would be really good if we send it, have maybe a session with the recording, because a good number of people had called and they weren't able to get in through one of the links. So just so you're aware of that, and maybe we could try to arrange it again.
People, I don't know what it was. Because everyone had the same link, I think.
Yeah, I don't know why, but I actually got a couple more people back, in because I don't know why, but they did have some difficulty, and so we can, as you mentioned, it will be recorded, so we will.
Tina, if you have any questions, because you work so hard in this presentation, I want to know.
I have a recommendation.
Yeah, Tina, and then Gloria.
Okay.
Tina.
It was an excellent presentation. In terms of the Zoom links, we can use the ID and passcode as well. There's two ways to gain access. I know the links are always popular, but I always make sure that the ID and passcode is listed as well. So I guess we can remind them to check both. If one doesn't work, there's a backup.
Right.
Always.
Gloria.
I just love the presentation.
Tina, it was not accepting the passcode for me, so that's why I had to bug Stephanie, because I couldn't get in.
Yeah.
I also don't want us to overlook the fact that there's a large technological base that's advanced from where we are in Africa, and that there are a lot of different countries that are definitely taking advantage of the AI that we might want to coalesce with in terms of getting some more innovative options.
That's a good move.
That is correct. I spoke with someone and they're taking advantage of AI very, very, very much so. So that I have heard that.
And it also may help protect us from some of the other nonsense that we're going through with the generics that they're doing here.
But we also, 60 Minutes did a presentation of how that some big AI companies were using Black youth to identify and get, and changing in training the large language models. And a couple of them said they were made to sit in rooms and identify pornographic images for days and days and days. And it was paying them $2 an hour. And so you think, Africa has been robbed of its minerals. Now, there are cases where they're being robbed of their brain power. So while we look at that, we have to remember if they'll do it in Africa, certainly they'll do this here with our young people. So we really have to watch that situation carefully.
And we had 6 African partners during our month of nonviolence in 2024.
Mm-hmm.
6 countries that we have excellent relationships with that also provide an opportunity. It would be wonderful to do a virtual training with our African partners online. And Tina works very closely with one of the countries or several of them. So that's just another area. So Black Women for Positive Change is reaching out to those of you who are not members of our group. We invite you to be. There's a great opportunity ahead of us. So let's run and take advantage of it. And with people like Joelle, I mean, we've got a real advantage here.
Well, I don't.
Let's do it. Yeah, I'm telling you, nobody's doing. There's no leader in AI, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we can even create a governance where,
all right,
you create this well thought out way of even talking about bias in AI. You have to go through these steps in order for you to put out your AI. You understand? I mean, I always think of it in healthcare because it's a big deal in healthcare. You see United Healthcare, they were using AI to deny claims to people that were rightfully so needed the care. And there was they didn't even ask any doctor or nurse or anyone in the field if this is the correct thing to deny. They just put out their tool and it was just about making money, right? So that's another thing to explore.
May I ask a question?
Mm-hmm.
Hi.
I think Jasmine.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Hand up. Jasmine, I saw your hand up. Okay.
Noreen Bethea, she wanted to.
No, I think that was a hand clap that I did a clap earlier.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Where are you? You have.
All righty. I'm sorry, I got on late because I was on another call. But I'm wondering, Miss Joelle, I had a conversation with a Navy veteran about 2 weeks ago, and he made the point that all of the data that Musk is taking from all these agencies is because the data sets of information to feed AI has been saturated or is no longer available. Is there any truth to that at all? Like, the data that he is taking, he's going to use it and market it in such a way that he has fresh points. No? Okay.
I really don't
Okay.
know.
I
I mean, even there's so much data, even that, like analyzing the data on its own is a whole nother aspect.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure. I'm not sure what their plan. I don't think they know what their plan is either.
Yeah. Okay.
I think, can I, excuse me. Go ahead, Doreen.
No, you're the second person I asked this question and they said, no, it's not true. So thank you for that. It's cool.
Not true. We don't know if it's true.
Tina has a question. Tina?
Well, not so much a question that to make sure that we don't duplicate processes in terms of governance, there is a lot of governance that's going on. We just need to make sure we research and educate ourselves. The United States is slow when it comes to governance, and there's possibly some legislation that's being done now here, but profit over morality seems to be trending.
Well,
I think it's something more insidious than that. When you figure that he was instrumental in changing millions of votes during this election, which he did, he's got the database already set up to be able to pinpoint certain areas, skew certain documents and certain information. I think that as he's going through region by region, because what's going to happen is if and when, or if we don't stop him, if there ever becomes a midterm or another election, all that information that he's using can be used against anybody who is still affiliated or working in the government. Never put anything past a megalomaniac. And that's what you're dealing with. That's why they keep saying Starlink crashed. Starlink did not crash. It's just that that's his way of keeping people from really truly investigating what he's doing.
In terms of looking at the vote, that we can always contact our local voting office and find out if our votes have been changed. That's something that we have the power to be able to do.
Iowa was able to do that. They went back and did a massive hand count. And so the person who won in the Republican Party, they kicked him out and replaced him with the person that was the next highest, who was Democrat. Other states are threatening to do the same thing. And then they found out that there were millions of mail-in votes that were put through the thing, and they, even though they were correct, they were denied. So never, ever underestimate a person who's got those kinds of ambitions for dominance. The whole thing of going through and just firing everybody and then making them come back and rehire is also a ploy. So every time somebody has to come under their scrutiny for anything, all of those things are being put through this whole system of AI and chat.
Well, I think
there's a lot of people who are not going to be rehired who are highly competent, but because now they've got the information that they want, they're going to filter it in such a way that those people most likely will never be able to get anything worse talking about decently in the system, as long as these guys are in control.
Oh, true.
We're about ready to wrap up.
Yeah, I think we need to wrap up now. We want to again thank our host. It was amazing. Some of the things that you talked about, I was taking notes, even though I can bring it back up. And this is just the first training that we've had. So we're off to a good start, but we will continue to train ourselves so that we will be able to take advantage of all of the even opportunities. Why can't we have apps and why can't we have platforms? But so just stay with us, and please understand that we appreciate your ideas as we go forward, because we don't have all the answers and we don't have all the skills. So it's nice seeing you back, Sharon and Esther. Where you are? Where are you from, by the way?
Esther?
I am in Maryland.
Oh.
I am with the Black Nurses Association of Baltimore.
All right.
Marcia Skeet is my cousin and always informs me of what's going on, and I try to get involved and support what you're doing. So there you go. She's blushing, but that's okay.
And Latara, you're back. Haven't heard from you for a while. Thank you for coming. And
yes,
course,
thank you, everyone.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Great discussion. It doesn't end today, right?
Right.
Joelle,
this is very enlightening. Thank you so much.
Right.
Keep you as
so we thank you, and we hope you will continue to be with us, because we want to do great things together.
We are on it. Definitely. I plan to definitely be actively involved.
Good, great, wonderful.
Stephanie, when are we having the next session, or it's our Barbara? How soon are we having a part 2?
Very quickly, you will be notified.
But what does everyone want? What do people want? What do you really want to know? Do you want to know how to code, or just how to stop bias? What we have to have a discussion of what the goal is.
I think we need to know how to code. I think we need to know how to use it. And as I was saying to Barb, we need to know what we don't know, as well as what we suspect, but we also need to learn the skills ourselves. It would make no sense just to be lectured on the evil that they do. And we can also take that and use it for good. Hey, use our powers for good. So I think it swings both ways. We need to be able to utilize the technology because it's not going to go away. That's obvious.
I think we need to be on top of the racial and gender issues because, who is going to be on top of that? Who's going to really be looking at how Black women and women are treated? So I would hope that we would be experts. Whatever you see, send it to Tina because we have a platform to put all the stuff in, and you can educate yourselves. With that, I think we should close. We just say thank you for coming. Please come again.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Conversation with Dr. Reynolds. we'll